September 29, 2025, a date that will be remembered as a turning point in American history. On this day, the nation finds itself standing at the edge of uncertainty, with the eyes of the world fixed on Washington, D.C., and the Middle East. The choices made now will echo for years to come, shaping not only the future of the United States, but also the global landscape. The United States stands at a pivotal moment, facing the dual challenges of a looming government shutdown and a bold new peace initiative in the Middle East. In the halls of Congress, lawmakers are locked in heated debate, unable to reach consensus on critical funding bills. Meanwhile, across the globe, a historic announcement has just been made. President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu have unveiled a sweeping plan for peace in Gaza, promising to end decades of violence and bring hope to millions. At home, the threat of political gridlock looms large. If Congress fails to act, federal operations could grind to a halt, leaving millions of Americans in limbo. Essential services, like Social Security, food assistance, and national security, hang in the balance. Federal employees face the prospect of missed paychecks, while families across the country worry about the ripple effects on their daily lives. The uncertainty is palpable, and the stakes have never been higher. Abroad, the world watches as President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu present their vision for a new era in the Middle East. Their ambitious peace plan for Gaza seeks to address long-standing grievances, rebuild shattered communities, and foster cooperation between Israelis and Palestinians. The announcement has sparked cautious optimism, but also skepticism and concern from regional leaders and international observers. The path to peace is fraught with challenges, and the outcome remains uncertain. These crises are deeply connected. America's ability to lead abroad depends on stability at home. If the government shuts down, the nation's credibility and influence on the world stage could be undermined. Allies and adversaries alike are watching to see if the United States can overcome its internal divisions and fulfill its promises abroad. The strength of American democracy is being tested, both within its borders and beyond. As the world watches, the outcome of these events will shape not just American lives, but the global order. Newsrooms buzz with updates, diplomats scramble to respond, and ordinary people everywhere wonder what tomorrow will bring. The decisions made in the coming days will ripple across continents, affecting economies, security, and the prospects for peace far beyond America's shores. The stakes are real. Federal paychecks, public services, and the hope for peace in Gaza all hang in the balance. For federal workers, the uncertainty is personal and immediate. For families in Gaza, the promise of peace is a fragile lifeline. Around the world, people are watching, waiting, and hoping for resolution. In this moment of crisis and opportunity, it's crucial to understand what's at risk, who the key players are, and how their decisions will impact us all. Let's break down the issues, examine the stakes, and explore what the future might hold for America and the world. The United States government is now just days away from a complete shutdown, a scenario that threatens to disrupt the lives of millions of Americans and send shockwaves through the economy. The tension in Washington is palpable, as lawmakers scramble to find common ground but remain deeply divided. Congress is locked in a bitter stalemate over government spending, with both parties refusing to budge from their positions. The atmosphere inside the Capitol is tense, with heated debates echoing through the halls and empty seats serving as a stark reminder of the gridlock. If lawmakers fail to pass crucial funding bills by the stroke of midnight on September 30th, the consequences will be immediate and far-reaching. Non-essential government operations will grind to a halt, and the effects will ripple across the country. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers will be furloughed, forced to stay home without pay. From national parks to passport offices, services Americans rely on every day will be shuttered, leaving families and communities in limbo. Republicans, led by Vice President JD Vance, are holding firm. They argue that Democrats are refusing to make necessary spending cuts, insisting that fiscal discipline is not just a political talking point, but a fundamental responsibility. For them, reining in government spending is essential to safeguarding the nation's future. On the other side, Democrats, with leaders like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries at the helm, say the Republican approach is reckless. They warn that the proposed cuts would gut essential programs, from healthcare to education, and accuse the GOP of shutting out bipartisan cooperation in favor of partisan brinkmanship. The standoff has become a battle of ideologies, with both sides entrenched. Republicans claim they are defending the nation's fiscal health through austerity, while Democrats argue that investing in social programs is the only way to ensure a strong and equitable future for all Americans. Outside the Capitol, protesters on both sides make their voices heard, reflecting the deep divisions across the country. At the heart of the impasse lies a fundamental disagreement over the size and role of government itself. Should Washington do more to support its citizens, or should it pull back and let the private sector take the lead? This question has defined American politics for generations, and tonight, it's more urgent than ever. As the deadline looms ever closer, neither side is showing any sign of compromise. Behind closed doors, negotiations drag on late into the night, but the nation watches anxiously, wondering if a last-minute deal can be struck or if a shutdown is inevitable. The stakes could not be higher. With the future of government operations hanging in the balance, the question remains, who will blink first and what price will the country pay for this political standoff? Republicans are doubling down on fiscal conservatism, arguing that runaway spending has fueled debt and inflation. Their goal force a reckoning over the nation's finances, even if it means a temporary shutdown. Some in the GOP want to limit even President Trump's power to cut spending, emphasizing Congress's control of the purse. The party is divided between moderates and hardliners, but united in demanding deep cuts and warning against kicking the can down the road. For many, compromising on spending is political suicide, so the standoff continues. The message short-term pain is worth long-term stability. Democrats see government as a lifeline, not a burden. Their rallying cry, protect healthcare, cancel cuts, and defend working families. They argue Republican cuts would devastate millions, especially if healthcare subsidies expire. Democrats accuse the GOP of shutting them out of negotiations and undermining democracy. Backed by labor unions, they're refusing to accept deep cuts, even if it means a shutdown. For them, standing firm is about protecting the vulnerable and upholding core values. The battle lines are drawn, social safety net versus fiscal austerity. A government shutdown isn't just political theater, it hits home. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers, from park rangers to scientists, would be furloughed without pay. National parks and museums would close, passport and visa processing would stall, and small business loans could freeze. Economic data releases would halt, leaving the Federal Reserve and markets in the dark. Essential workers, like air traffic controllers and TSA agents, would work without pay, straining morale and safety. The ripple effects would disrupt local economies and everyday lives. Even after the shutdown ends, the damage to public trust and financial stability lingers. For many, it's a self-inflicted wound that could have been avoided. The stakes are personal, immediate, and real. While Washington stalls, President Trump unveils a sweeping peace plan for Gaza after talks with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. The plan aims to end nearly 2 years of war, secure the release of hostages, and rebuild Gaza. It's a bold diplomatic gamble, with Trump calling it a potential turning point for civilization. Netanyahu has endorsed the framework, giving it crucial momentum. Financial markets have responded positively, sensing hope for regional stability. But the biggest hurdle remains. Hamas has yet to agree, and their response will determine the plan's fate. The world is watching to see if this ambitious vision can become reality. Peace in the Middle East hangs in the balance. Trump's plan is detailed and direct: an immediate ceasefire, unconditional release of hostages, and total demilitarization of Gaza. Hamas would be excluded from future governance. The Palestinian Authority would take over, with a technocratic committee guiding the transition. Israel pledges not to occupy or annex Gaza, easing regional fears. An international board of peace chaired by Trump and global leaders would oversee the process. Massive U.S. aid and economic incentives aim to rebuild Gaza and offer hope beyond conflict. Preferred trade terms are on the table to jumpstart the local economy. The plan's success depends on buy-in from all sides and the courage to break with the past. Diplomacy isn't just about deals, it's about repairing trust. In a rare move, Netanyahu publicly apologized to Qatar for an Israeli strike in Doha, smoothing over a major diplomatic rift. Qatar, a key regional player and mediator, is now back in the fold, thanks to U.S. pressure. This gesture signals a broader coalition for peace, and reassures Arab nations of the plan's inclusivity. For Israel, it's a sign of seriousness. For the region, a chance to reset relationships. Apologies are rare in Middle East politics, but this one could open doors. Sometimes a single phone call can change the course of negotiations. As the sun sets over Washington, D.C., America stands at a crossroads, facing two starkly different futures. At home, deepening political divisions threaten to paralyze the government, while abroad, the nation's role as a global leader is being tested like never before. The choices made in the coming days will shape not only the direction of the United States, but also its influence on the world stage. The looming government shutdown is about far more than just budgets and numbers. It's a battle over the very soul of American governance. Lawmakers are locked in a struggle that reflects deeper questions about the nation's values, priorities, and the ability to find common ground. Outside the Capitol, citizens voice their frustrations, worried about the impact on their daily lives and the country's future. Meanwhile, across the globe, the fragile Gaza peace plan presents a rare and urgent opportunity. For decades, violence and mistrust have defined the region, but now, diplomats from the U.S. and the Middle East are working tirelessly to break the cycle. The stakes are enormous. A breakthrough could bring hope to millions and reshape the future of the Middle East. In a surprising turn, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's public apology to Qatar signals a willingness to move beyond old hostilities. This gesture, though symbolic, opens the door to new possibilities for dialogue and cooperation, reminding the world that even the deepest divides can be bridged with courage and diplomacy. As the clock ticks down, the next few hours will determine whether the U.S. government remains open, affecting millions of Americans who rely on its services. At the same time, the coming weeks will reveal whether the seeds of peace in Gaza can truly take root, or if old patterns of conflict will return. Around the world, people are watching closely. America's ability to govern itself and to lead with integrity is under intense scrutiny. Allies and adversaries alike are gauging whether the U.S. can rise above its internal challenges to inspire confidence and stability on the global stage. Effective governance at home is the bedrock of credible diplomacy abroad. When American leaders demonstrate unity and resolve, they strengthen the nation's voice in international affairs and set an example for others to follow. The stakes have rarely been higher. For American families, the outcome will shape their daily lives and sense of security. For the world, it's a test of whether the United States can still be a force for stability and hope in uncertain times.